Hey guys, so this is a video that I've been going back and forth for the last couple days about recording and uploading because I wasn't sure what the reaction to it would be, but after everything that I've seen on sites like Twitter and Facebook the last few days, I do think it's necessary just to make a video expressing my thoughts and my perspectives just in a way that's a little bit more extensive than my usual, tweets and Tumblr posts and things like this. I was thinking about actually sitting down in front of the camera and showing my face, but I decided that this would not be a good first video to do that because I don't know what kinds of people are going to watch this video, and as we're going to get into, I know how ruthless some people can get, so it's just going to be a voiceover, but as the title says, I want to talk a little bit about the whole Emison situation. For those of you who aren't aware, in the most recent episode of The Perfectionist, the one that aired on Wednesday, spoilers for those who haven't seen it yet, or if you somehow don't know, Emily and Allison officially did end their relationship. We saw Emily is no longer wearing her wedding ring in pictures, and we saw Allison officially signing the divorce papers that Emily sent her. So there's no more room for, are they or are they not going to stay together? As of right now, they are officially broken up, and predictably, big section of the fan base is really pissed and really upset. So I just kind of wanted to get into that because it's been a really intense few days, and I do want to get my perspectives and thoughts on the whole situation out pretty clearly. Okay, so I kind of have a list of things that I want to make sure I address, but the first thing I want to talk about is something that I've seen a lot of in comments since this happened, which is people complaining and saying things like, oh, of course the 3 straight couples got their happy endings and the 1 gay couple is divorcing. And on the surface, just kind of looking at it from that straightforward, simplified viewpoint, I do get it. It does look bad that we had these 4 main couples at the end of PLL, and as of right now, 3 of them are happy, they got their big endings, they're having kids, Spencer and Toby eloped, whatever. And then the only LGBT couple has had a very rocky road and is officially divorcing. It does look bad. So I do see where people are coming from with that, but where I stand on it, I think the problem is that people are looking at it from a very emotional standpoint, when it's really kind of important to look at it from a more logical standpoint. It wasn't as if the writers and Marlene Kane and whoever set out to maliciously break up their one big LGBT couple from PLL and purposefully leave the straight couples alone. It had nothing to do with them being a gay couple. That played no role in their breakup. And in fact, the most logical decision, which I'll get into in a little bit, was for them to break up. They broke up because they were the only couple affected by the spinoff. Spencer and Toby, Aria, Ezra, Hannah, Caleb, they're all off screen. They're all back in Rosewood or wherever they live now. They're not affected by this. Their stories are over on screen. But with this situation, we have one half of Emison continuing on in Beacon Heights and the other not. So they were the only ones directly affected by the spinoff. And I guarantee, and I've said this a million times, and I feel like it's falling on deaf ears for the most part, that if the situation was different and we had Hannah in the spinoff without Caleb, I guarantee it would be the exact same circumstances where they would be breaking up, they would be divorcing, they would be unhappy, and we would be getting those stupid little text conversations that they've been posting on Facebook where we learn that Emily and Allie are, dropping their girls off at preschool and they're super happy and in love. Like, I guarantee it would be the same situation. It's not as if any of this has to do with Emily and Allie being an LGBT couple, and I just feel like it's a situation where people are making this into an issue, whether socially or politically, that it's not. And there are so many situations right now that are real examples of representation issues or LGBT issues, and this is not one of them. And it's just kind of getting grating to see people consistently making this into an issue when all it really comes down to is they were the couple affected by the spinoff, so logically and logistically, they were the ones that had their relationship affected. And that kind of brings me to my next point that I want to talk about, which is something else I've seen a lot of people complaining about, especially on social media, saying that there was no reason to break up Emily and Allison, that they could have left them together, left them alone. And that's always struck me as really surprising that people think that way. And I was certain from the moment the spinoff was announced that something was going to go down between them to end their relationship because just logically, again, it just doesn't make any sense. And the main argument people have seems to be, well, Emily could have just been happy for Allie and she could have just supported her move to Beacon Heights. But like, again, think of it logically. It makes no sense for someone to be happy and supportive that their partner is leaving them and leaving their kids to move across the country to go to school. You know, this isn't a situation where Allie was offered some one-of-a-kind job that she absolutely couldn't pass up, or she was going into the military and had to go far away, or anything like that. She came to Beacon Heights, which she applied to, so it was her choice, to go to grad school and be a TA. She made that choice. It's not as if there are no grad schools for education in Pennsylvania or even in the Philly area. There was no reason that she had to move all the way across the country to do this, and kind of as Mona and Allie talk about in that episode, it's almost like she did it on purpose, you know, to kind of get away from Emily and get away from the whole situation. So all of that said, they realistically couldn't have written a storyline where Emily is just magically fine with that, has no problem raising her two daughters totally alone while her wife goes off all the way across the country, never to see them again. Like, that's just not a realistic scenario. And I feel like for a lot of people making these arguments, they're probably on the younger side, you know, like younger teenagers, adolescents. So they just don't really understand that that's just not how adult relationships work, and that you can love somebody, but that's not enough to just keep you apart forever and just totally be fine with every decision that your partner makes, even if it's affecting your relationship. So when it comes down to it, when going off of the explanation for why Allison is in Beacon Heights, they really had no choice but to break up Emison. That was just the most realistic thing to do for the storyline. And finally, of course, I have to address kind of the main reason why I'm making this video and why I felt the urge to make it in the first place, which is the response in general to this breakup. I kind of went on Twitter the night of the episode very hesitantly because I thought I had a feeling what the reaction might be. And I was totally right. It was a train wreck. It still kind of is. It seems like it's calmed down a little bit. But Wednesday night and most of yesterday was like a battlefield. I didn't go on Facebook or Instagram, but Twitter seemed to be the worst of it anyway. And it seemed like people, shippers that is, seemed to mostly fall into two camps. And the first group of people were people who were devastated, saying things like, "My life is ruined. How could you do this to me? Emison was my only reason for going on. They were my inspiration in life, and now I don't know what I'm going to do." And to me, like, I will say that I do sympathize with people who like them together, with people who rooted for them and are now dealing with their breakup. That sucks. And while I don't relate to the idea of being so attached to a couple or a ship that I'm like devastated when they're broken up, I do relate to the idea of being really disappointed with an outcome of a TV show. I was really pissed with the Charlotte reveal, and I was really pissed with the Alex reveal for a while. They were both horrible. So I get it. I get being angry and disappointed. You know, it is a TV show, and we all know that, but that doesn't mean we don't have emotions toward it. But some of the responses that I saw along these lines were honestly concerning to me. Just the emotional investment that people had in this couple was a little bit concerning. And then, of course, there were the people that were doing things like threatening Marlene, calling her homophobic, calling her obese, finding her address and posting it on social media, finding Sasha's address and posting that on social media, and encouraging people to go throw bricks through her windows, which I will post that picture because it did happen. And just a medley of other horrible comments and threats and taunts. And I really don't even have words. I really feel like I can't even explain why that's so wrong because it's just so self-explanatory. But all of that combined, you know, the anguished "my life is over" posts and the furious threats, it's just what it really comes down to for me is being disappointed, being upset is totally reasonable and totally understandable. But what I saw over these past few days is concerning on a level of people blurring that line between fiction and reality. First of all, going to the extent to channel their anger towards the real life people involved in the show, especially people like the actors who had absolutely nothing to do with the decision and were simply saying the lines and doing their job that they were given. Like, words can't even describe how just flat out, and this is going to sound bad, but just flat out idiotic that is, to feel that Sasha is somehow responsible for what Allison did on the show. And even for the people like the writers who were responsible for it, these are real people. You know, to be encouraging violence against them, to be trying to tear them down just because you disagree with the decision that they made in their line of work, that is so reprehensible. And it's beyond juvenile. It's almost delusional. And that's where my concern comes in with these people. And I'm not talking about, again, the people who were just disappointed or upset and didn't like the way it ended. That's totally fine and that's valid and they're entitled to that opinion. But the people who are making this such an integral part of their lives, I mean, that is concerning. And if you're putting that much weight onto a fictional couple on a TV show, honestly, that's something I think some people need to get some help for. I mean, I look around at the real problems in the world today and things that are actively going on that are harming the LGBT plus community, that are harming people of color in this country and in this world. I mean, there are horrible anti-abortion laws being passed that are going to harm women all across the South right now. And I could go on for hours about all of that, but I won't. But you know, to see all of that and then to get on Twitter and see so many people throwing all of this outrage and anguish over two fictional characters on a television show breaking up, possibly not even permanently, it is a little bit disturbing to me. And what it comes down to is it's fine to be upset and disappointed and to express that, but there does come a moment when I think people just need to accept that this is not real life. And that what happens on this show is going to have no impact on your real life. You know, even if you saw them as some inspiration, even if they helped you with your coming out journey, which is amazing and wonderful, they're a fictional couple. It's really not that big of a deal. And it's certainly not a big enough deal that you should be threatening to harm people over it, that you should be boycotting a show that they weren't even going to be in the first place over it. I just can't follow that line of thinking, but that's kind of my perspectives on the whole thing. I tried to be as candid as possible. So don't really have an ending for this. This was just kind of my big pile of thoughts and absolutely condemning that behavior that I've seen. I have seen some pretty gross behavior on the other side of it too, with, you know, taunting Emison fans and basically laughing in their faces. And I think that's also gross. Like, just let people have their feelings, but just don't be a dick either way. That's what it really comes down to. That's the moral of this video. So I hope you enjoyed my just random thoughts on this. I'm thinking about making kind of a more like structured blog post about it. We'll see if that happens. But for now, I'm leaving the comments up. I'm disabling the ratings immediately, but I'm going to leave the comments up for now. I'd love if we could have some peaceful discussion, even discourse, but if I start getting swarmed by hate and insults, comments are going to be disabled as well. So thank you for listening, and we'll be back to voiceovers soon.